What up, y'all? How's everybody doing out there today? It's a hot one here in my world. I just got through taking my son a little while ago. Figured it was a good time to do a video because I was doing a little bit of contemplation. Watch it. I always listen to videos when I'm in the sun. What I do is I come out here, I put my headphones on, and I try to pick a few of the YouTube videos that I want to watch, but I don't really need to watch. Just it's probably, the visual's not that important, so I just lay in the sun and listen. And a lot of times I pick the right, I kind of am learning how to pick. I pick the right ones that kind of send me down a path of that opens up my thoughts, makes me think about things, makes me question a few things. And I just got thinking, actually this has kind of been building up. I've just been thinking recently about where this raw vegan path is taking me. Where's it leading? Where's it going to? Now, in life, we make plans, and life is what happens or something like that. So, I'm not really making any big plans. It's not that kind of a thing. It's just, wondering in general, where am I going with this? And it got me going into a few different thought processes on what I meant by that, because there's different ways. Where's it taking me personally? Where it's taken me personally, or where I think it's leading right now, from the best that I can tell, is it's taking me simpler and simpler. All the complicated stuff that I read about, recipes, ways of eating, just the complications of this lifestyle. I just find it simple. I can read about, is this good for you? Is this optimal? Is this or that? But then I just go back to the basics. Lots of bananas, lots of papayas. I don't eat many papayas. Lots of bananas, lots of mangoes, lots of greens, lots of organic spinach and kale, and arugula mixed in there. Probably not as much greens as I should always be getting, but it's hard to get in, as much greens as you really need. That's why, even though I try to be as natural as possible, I use a little bit of supplementation. I use, some daily green boost to get more of the good green in there. I use spirulina for other reasons. But I'm looking for simpler and simpler. I'm looking to go to the earth. I've been expressing that more and more lately. I have this desire, this need, this just something overwhelming to grow. Now, I love all the comments and I love the suggestions, and I may get around to doing it here, but I think everybody's telling me, well, you could do this here, here, and here at your house. I think the reason I'm holding back, and we'll see in 2 months, I might start doing a little container gardening, but I think the reason I've been holding back on anything here is, yeah, it's a rental property, but who knows, I could end up being the last rental property, or the rental property before last I was at for like 8 years. So, and there's things I could do here that wouldn't be permanent. But basically, I'm thinking that some change, what I'm in the long way getting around to is, I'm thinking there's some changes that are going to come up in my life. And I just want to, I'm going to wait and see before I go full on. But and I need to do some things to start teaching myself. But what I'm talking about is like a real garden. I'm not talking about a little cute thing, where there's a few things here and there. I'm talking about a nice, substantial garden that I can get out and really work in. For there's the connection with the earth, the fresh air, the sunshine, and the food that it's yielding. That's part of it too. So, that's something I'm going towards the earth in some way or another. Now, I'm not saying I'm going totally remote, totally off the grid, back in the jungle, way out in the wilderness, because, I don't have all those survival skills. I probably need to be with somebody that can help me a little bit with that. And it doesn't have to be that remote. I just want a piece of ground that I can dig in and, produce in. Like I say, that's personally where I'm seeing things going. And that might lead me out of the little town where I'm leading, because, a lot of things are coming into my path lately, or awareness of other people. I'm meeting a few more people online, or even a few people I haven't met online. I've watched some videos of theirs, or I know of their presence now. And, it's easy just to get stale a little bit, because I've lived in this, except for the 1.5 years I moved to the city, I've lived in this little town. This is where I've lived in Costa Rica. I've been here for about 15.5 years now, and 14 of those years have been lived here in Jaco. Great little town, love it. It's got a lot of good things about it, but none of my people are here. None of my tribe are here. I'm seeing more and more people that are down about 2 hours south of me. And there's probably ones that I don't even know about. There's probably people that don't do YouTube that I haven't come across on Facebook that that are down there also. But that seems to just be an area. There's more fruits, baribia, mamizapote, jackfruit. I just see more of the different fruits. Now don't get me wrong, I might get down to somewhere like that and probably I would just be, you know, I would enjoy some of those fruits. But I think the staples, you know, would always be the staples for me. Some of those others would just be, you know, a nice little something different. So yeah, I see my path as being simpler on this raw. It's simpler and simpler and simpler on this raw vegan thing. I see it integrating more and becoming less of a focus. Just, you know, like the food being just one element of the whole program. I mean, I know on this channel it's always the talk is, and that's what most people are here for. We talk more about food, but food is just one component of it. And I really want to focus more in the future on lifestyle over just food. Lifestyle being the food, the movement, the whatever you want to call, like either meditation or a spiritual practice, or, you know, something for that mind-body connection. You know, or that could be for both. It could be for the mind-body connection. It could be for dealing with stress, good water, but just the overall big picture of health, and not food all the time, because we're not gonna have ultimate health if it's all about the food all the time. Now, on the other hand, that's where I want to go personally. Now, something in the last few years that's become apparent to me, or has put itself in my path also, is that what am I going to do with my life? What is this second half of my life about? And I've just come to the conclusion that one way or another, in some shape or form, that the second half of my life is about service. I've been a rather selfish person most of my life, but I don't know that selfish is always a bad word, because it's not like I've let other people down. It's just like I've lived mostly for me, because there's only been me to consider. I would like to do more, you know. There's just something yearning inside of me that I would like to be of service, be able to help people on their health journeys, just to be able to help people on their lifestyle journeys. And which that takes me in a little bit different direction than my personal path, because I realize people aren't going to, you know, most people, they're not going to drop out and move to the tropics, or you don't have to drop out, you know, like sometimes it's just about, I think what I'd like for more people to know is it's not about dropping out and coming and doing what I'm doing. It's about living the life that you want to live. You know, it's not necessarily about going anywhere, but it is about living your life the way that you want to live it, not living in misery every day. For instance, like you may have a job that you hate, that gives you a lifestyle that's miserable, that you're just doing just to pay for a bunch of stuff in a house that you don't have any time to spend. Okay, you may not move anywhere. You may stay in the same area where you're at, but you might change your life. You might go. You might take a job that's a volunteer job, or it has, you know, you're doing good. You're not making that kind of money, but that's making you happy. Or maybe you have something specific that you want to do that would make you happy. Whatever, that's for you. But I would like to open more people to the possibilities of living the life that they want to live. Where the food comes in, I'd like, and that's the reason that I have to work on this a little bit more, because I can't, you know, like I say, I want to help as many people as possible. My process, I don't know how many people that would bring in, because I'm simple. I don't have to know all the details. Like I say, I learn about something, it makes sense to me, I do it. I don't, but you know, I'm not like some of your, and I don't consider myself an educator, but I'm just saying I'm definitely not like the educators who can just like sit and talk this stuff all the time. They can tell you why this. I mean, I go to Facebook pages and people are remarkable. I'm like, wow, I wish I had that retention. You know, so I'm having to learn that kind of stuff, commit it to my head, but also just committing it to where I can get it at a moment's notice, because most people need a little bit more convincing. I don't expect anybody just to do something or come to a way of thinking just because a crazy old dude like me says so. So I have to put a little bit more work into it, and I have to have resources, and I have to do some studying and some learning to be able to effectively help others out there. I have to learn things like recipes because to try to introduce people to a plant-based lifestyle, or to help them just get a little bit healthier, or to help them go all the way with this, you're not going to get too many people interested in the beginning, especially unless you're really giving them some tasty stuff. And they need more distractions. You know, people when they're a little less clean, when they're newer to a healthy plant-based lifestyle, they need more distractions in their food because their tastes are kind of screwed up from all the chemicals, taste, flavors, and things that have been put in food that most have been eating. So, for me, I don't need all these recipes. I do like to find a nice tasty recipe every once in a while, and that's why every time I do a recipe on here, it's as simple as possible. But I am going to have to, you know, learn more about preparing food, because I don't have to, but I just know that I can reach more people if I can put the tastiest food possible out there, especially to get people in. You know, once people start learning the thought process behind the raw living foods, they, you know, they understand a little bit better. But in the beginning, all they are is a tongue. You know, it's like, if it tastes good, they'll eat it again. If it doesn't taste good, they're not going to eat it again. So I want to try. That's something that I really want to work on. I want to work on, but still doing it my style, keeping it simple. But I want to develop and learn and find more simple recipes, but good, really tasty recipes that are going to help people want to stay on this path. That when people sit down to eat, they're going to enjoy their food. You know, it's not going to be like, okay, well, we're eating this, we know it's good for us, but I'd really rather have something else. When I sit down and eat my food, like I had a salad last night, just this basic salad. I like that. I'm not eating it because it's healthy. I thoroughly enjoyed that salad just as much as I used to think I enjoyed some garbage meal, whether it was wings or a steak or whatever. I mean, when I sat, now I have gone through that cleansing process, my tastes have changed, and I really do, sitting down, when I sit down to that huge salad, there's as much enjoyment there for me, if not more, because now I know I'm doing something good for myself, than when I used to eat the food that was rich, thick, bad for you, supposedly more tasty. But, you know, now I can get just as much satisfaction. So I do want to learn. I want to learn skills that are applicable for helping people, that are not just for me. But for me, just simpler and simpler. And like I say, when probably I'll be going to the States again in July 8th. I'll be back here about the 3rd or 4th week of July. After that, I'm free. I'm going to go start trying to look and find my tribe. Maybe find another area to relocate to. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out. That might be something. It's time for me to get out on a limb. Not out on a limb. That's not really taking a big risk, but it is getting out of my little comfort zone because I've always lived in this area. So anyhow, I don't know. You know, we never know where life's going to take us. I could step out in the street and one of these crazy buses run over me today. But yeah, I'm just kind of, you know, getting ready for the future, but loving right now. Anyhow, this was just a rambling video for the middle of the week. I usually do those on the weekend. Hope you like this one. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. Hope you'll subscribe to the channel, and hope you are having a good week. Hump day probably when you're watching this, or maybe Tuesday night. Anyhow, I love you guys. Peace.